Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising you through topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we are coming off of a decent UFC Macau event, not too hot on predictions. We go 5-8, yikes! But we do predict the co-main event and main event correctly, which always kind of leaves a not a sour taste in the mouth when you predict especially the main event compared to the co-main event. But we will be recapping all the action and talking about what is next for some of the fighters. Also, we're going to be reviewing Week 12 of the NFL season. We did pretty good on picks. I might win pick'ems. We will have to see how the Ravens and Chargers game ends tonight, as I am recording this before that. But other than that, Vikings won a lot of exciting games. We're going to be talking about all of that, including some very big fantasy football performances. Also on today, your special or surprise, if you will, we are going to be reviewing the movie Napoleon, starring Joaquin Phoenix, my bad. I watched it with my buddy Ryan this weekend, and honestly, I was surprised. It was actually a pretty good movie, and we'll be dropping our thoughts about that, top 10 new things in pop culture, and of course, kicking things off with some new UFC news. As Thanksgiving approaches, all I can think about is how many things I'm blessed for, and one thing I'm thankful for is what it is. One of the things I'm very thankful for is my audience, you, the podcast, what this has become, and we're just getting started. I saw Joe Rogan say that he didn't actually start making money off of his podcast until 5 years into the game. It didn't even become that mainstream. So it's incredible to hear from someone as successful with the number one podcast in the world. It gives me hope as someone who is starting up, if you will. I am sick, if you can't tell by the tone of my voice. I don't know what I have, a cold, a fever, who knows, the flu. Who knows, we're going to power through that and deliver you another excellent episode or edition, whatever you want to call this, of the Surprise Jab Podcast. So strap in, grab a coffee if you're on your way to work. I hope you have an amazing day at work. But as always, we are kicking things off with some new UFC news, and we have a couple of announcements. First off, if no one knew, UFC 311 is going down in Los Angeles, California, at the new stadium for the, the Clippers? Steve Ballmer, he built it. I can't remember the exact name of it. Oh my gosh, is it the Intuit Dome? Is it the Intuit Dome? It sounds correctly. I was trying to find it, but we do have an official. Is it the Intuit Dome? One sec. It is the Intuit Dome, January 18th. But we do have our first official fight for UFC 311, and it is a absolutely fantastic matchup between the number 2 ranked light heavyweight in the world, Jiri Prochazka, and the number 3 ranked Jamal Hill. That is right. That's absolutely right. Jiri Prochazka coming off of his loss to Alex Pereira, and Jamal Hill coming off of his loss to Alex Pereira. They are finally doing battle. This is a perfect matchup. All right, I am perfectly satisfied with this matchup. Jiri 4-2 in the UFC. Only man to beat him, Alex Pereira. Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill 6-2 in the UFC. Only men to beat him, Paul Craig and Alex Pereira. Funny enough, Jamal, his last win was over Glover Teixeira in 2023. Jiri Prochazka's last win was over Alexander Rakic in UFC 300. It was so back in May. What was that? That was April actually. I am excited for this one. Jiri Prochazka holds wins over Glover Teixeira, Volkan Ozdemir, Alexander Rakic. He finished all of them. Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill wins over Glover Teixeira, Thiago Santos, and Johnny Walker. He finished all but Glover Teixeira. Winner of this, probably going to be in talks for another title shot. The light heavyweight title picture is certainly in an interesting spot. I mean, Pereira going to be taking on Ankalaev. That's the set next matchup. But after that, I don't really know what to do. Jiri's going to be taking on Jamal. Winner of that will be on a one-fight win streak. Rakic, doesn't Rakic have a matchup coming up? I swear Alexander Rakic had a fight booked against someone. Was it Nikita Krylov? I don't know. But Blachowicz sitting at number 4. He hasn't had an opponent. I honestly think the winner of this should fight Blachowicz, and the winner of that matchup fights the winner of Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev. As confusing as that may sound, that is what I think will happen, but I'm definitely riding with Jiri Prochazka. I'm not a fan of Jamal Hill. He legit has complained nonstop since getting knocked out by Alex Pereira. I've never seen someone complain that much. Meanwhile, Jiri Prochazka contemplated, I should better say, leaving MMA. He contemplated retiring after losing again, but no, he's back. You can't take the warrior spirit out of him. By the way, 30 professional victories for Jiri Prochazka, 29 finishes, 12 professional victories for Jamal Hill, 9 finishes. So these guys are finishers through and through. I'll be excited to see what they bring to the table. Another matchup going down in Saudi Arabia, February 1st, at a little fight night. The debut of Bogdan Grad, 14-2, coming from Austria and Romania, just under 30 years of age. Bogdan Grad will be making his debut against Lucas Alexander, 8-4 professionally, 1-2 in the UFC. He holds a win over Steven Peterson. I think he was the man to retire him, but should be an interesting matchup. I'll probably ride with Bogdan Grad in that one. And the final official matchup for you, this one in the light heavyweight division, going down February 22nd at an unnamed UFC event. Ion Kudalaba, the Hulk, 18-10 professionally, 7-9 with a draw in the UFC, will be taking on Ibo Aslan. 14 wins, 14 finishes. This guy is a killer. 2-0 in the UFC with two of the nastiest knockouts I've seen of Rafael Sequeira and Anton Turkaljic. This guy's an absolute dog, and I'm very excited for him. I'm excited for him to go up the rankings. So Ibo Aslan, from what I've seen so far, he's the knockout power, he is the grit, and I definitely bet he's going to be finishing even Ion Kudalaba. I don't know where that February 22nd card's going to be. Maybe a fight night. I doubt a pay-per-view. I think the pay-per-view is going down on the 8th of February. So this will probably just be a normal fight night or something. But that is all the new UFC news. Not too much. But I am satisfied with the news we have heard so far. And speaking of news, have you heard about this film that came out last year called Napoleon? Holy cow, it is a biographical war film produced by Ridley Scott and is based on the life of Napoleon and depicts his rise to power as well as his relationship with his wife Josephine. Joaquin plays Napoleon, and Vanessa Kirby plays Josephine. Vanessa, she was in, I'm trying to think of some movie I've seen her in. Nothing I know, but I do recognize her, and she was great in this film. Honestly, Joaquin Phoenix was as well. This was a very interesting film. Very interesting film. The critics' main thing with this was that the battle sequences were awesome, so were the performances of the actors, but it had some uneven pacing, and the tone at times just wasn't really there, and there were some historical inaccuracies. And I completely agree with the critics here, all right? But the critics were saying this is a 5 or 6 out of 10 movie. I thought it was an 8 out of 10. The battle sequences are some of the best battle sequences I've ever seen. That's high praise. High praise. The best battle scenes I've ever seen in a film. That is right. This is honestly this upped season 8 of Game of Thrones. Any battle scenes in that, they don't stand a chance against this movie. It was gory, it was violent, and there were some just wacky things. Like there were some unnecessary sex scenes with Napoleon and Josephine, and it just felt so forced, and it was just weird. It was like a laughable moment. And also, with Napoleon, the pacing, the one thing is we have months going on. There's some events that take place over, like you'll have an hour of the film take place over a week, and then you'll have 30 minutes take place over 2 or 3 years. And you're just kind of like, the pacing doesn't make sense. And, they kind of skip over main things. Like when Napoleon was exiled, they didn't talk about how hard it was for him to get back. And, when he got back, obviously he rose back to power. But the one thing of him reclaiming power they showed was just him being like a bunch of troops were holding guns at him, and basically was like, do you remember me, men? I fought for you. And then they all just like sided with him again. And then to end the film, not as like a spoiler alert, because Napoleon, you can look up the history of Napoleon, but basically he gets exiled again after a failed takeover against, I think it was the German-British alliance and maybe Austria. He gets exiled, and then 6 years pass and he dies. And that's that. But, I honestly, as much as they make Napoleon seem cool at times, they kind of end the film talking about how many men he lost for France, like in his war raids, and it was like 3 million, I think, or something ridiculous. So I don't really know if they were trying to make us like Napoleon, trying to make us hate Napoleon, but it was pretty good. This movie did come out post-COVID. This was supposed to be, this was announced in 2020, and it took them 3 years to finally get it out into theaters. The plot of the movie, there's a lot of plots here. Basically Napoleon starts out as a young army officer. He watches Marie Antoinette become beheaded. Paul Barras then has Napoleon manage a siege, and as he storms the city, he's able to repel the British army with certain tactics, and it really draws the attention of French leaders. And soon Napoleon becomes a French leader, which they kind of just skim over, like him becoming coronated and everything. They end the reign of terror, and then eventually, we see this character Josephine de Beauharnais, just Josephine, and they eventually become married. and they have a very vigorous sex life throughout the whole film, as I mentioned, but she never is able to bear children. She's never ever able to bear children, and when he goes on a raid to Egypt, which is absolutely crazy, and I'm very happy they include that in the film. I wish they would have shown more about that. One thing I won't lie is they showed that they were attacking the pyramids. I don't know if that is historically accurate, of them shooting cannons at the pyramids. I don't know, but actually, maybe this is a historical fact. The Battle of the Pyramids was known as the Battle of Embade. It was a major engagement during the French invasion of Egypt. It was named by Napoleon after the Great Pyramid of Giza. Ooh, maybe there is something about that. I don't know. But when he came home, he heard that Josephine had been taking a lover of his. She was having an affair with someone who was 10 years younger than him. Basically, and the French, directory, if you will, the leaders, they criticized him for abandoning his troops to come home, but he condemned them for poor leadership of France, and including collaborators such as Fauci, C.S. Ducos, and Talleyrand. Talleyrand, I wish they would have talked about a lot more. I'm a big Talleyrand supporter, read about him in the 48 Laws of Power, and they basically all overthrow them, and eventually Napoleon is crowned Emperor of the French in 1804. He puts the crown on his own head, and Talleyrand then suggests him an Austrian alliance. The crown scene was pretty cool, but then, just the lack of Talleyrand. Talleyrand was shown a bit through the film, but he is such a more impactful part of this whole story. Basically, the Austrians and him, they have something. A year later, Napoleon outmaneuvers and defeats the Austrians and Russians at a battle. But then there's this really crazy scene where they storm Moscow and they find it empty, and so it is set aflame, which is pretty crazy. Napoleon then retreats during the winter to France after he loses 500,000 men, and because of that, he is exiled to Elba, as we mentioned. In 1815, he hears that Josephine is sick. He tries to escape the island, and in his 100 days returns to power in France. She's then forced into reclusion, and she dies before he arrives. And I also forgot to mention that he divorced Josephine to sleep with, I think it was the younger sister, or the younger sister of either the Austrian or Russian Czar, so that he could bear a child, and he was able to bear children. And then at the Battle of Waterloo, here it is. Napoleon has amassed more troops than he ever has in his life. He confronts the British army and the Duke of Wellington, and it just never works out. Napoleon urges his remaining soldiers forward, but his advance is defeated, and the forces of Prussia, that's what it is, arrive to reinforce, and the French are broken, and Napoleon retreats. And then he salutes Wesley in the film, and Wesley's like this big general. He's exiled, goes to St. Helena in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. He's bantering with children, writing his memoirs, and he dies. And yes, an epilogue notes that roughly 3 million people died in his wars. That is meant more as troops. But yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good writing, pretty good acting. Everything was really good about it. Just the pacing. Pacing was pretty odd. It was, that's the main thing. The soundtrack was good. I really rocked with that. Box office, 61.5 million in the U.S. and Canada, 159 million in other territories, worldwide total 221.4 million. I don't know, what was the budget? Do we have a budget on this? Budget was 130 to 200 million. Box office 221 million. So it just made its budget back. Yikes. The shortfall was made up by home rentals, but they still, they lost 165 million. What the heck? Geez, I did not even realize that. In the U.S. and Canada, it was released along Wish and Saltburn. I'm sure Saltburn took up a lot more. Saltburn was much more popular. But yes, 58% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.2 on Metacritic. Ridley Scott is intent on proving the Emperor has no clothes in Napoleon, a slyly funny epic with brava set pieces and a divided runtime that keeps it from outright conquering. The runtime too. The runtime was really bad. Runtime was really bad. Almost 3 hours long. It did not need to be that long. All right, it did not need to be that long. During the final battle scene, which, by the way, the battle scenes are the best parts of the movie, I was starting to doze off. I'm like, all right, Zach, snap into it. You got to finish out this movie. And eventually I was able to, but I mean, come on. We do not need 3 hour movies. 2 hour, 2.5 is a good pace, but pushing 3, holy cow. And I get it if it's fast paced the whole time, but there's some scenes where it's slow, then it's super fast paced. But the battle scenes, the acting, the characterization, everything, it gets an 8 out of 10 for me. So Napoleon, I do encourage you all to go watch it. I was skeptical about watching it, but I gave it a shot. And you know what? It wasn't too bad. I'll tell you what else isn't too bad, and that is the top 10 new things in pop culture. As always, we talk about the top 10 new things in pop culture, courtesy of Discussing Film, which you can find on X. If you want to check it out, we look at 10 new things in the pop culture world. First off, Charlize Theron has joined Christopher Nolan's next movie. This movie will also star Lupita Nyong'o, who is from the latest, Be Quiet? Quiet Place movie. Anne Hathaway, legendary Matt Damon, Robert Pattinson, Zendaya, and Tom Holland. I don't know the gist of the movie. I think it's a spy movie, but this cast is building up greatly. Number two, a sequel to Slumdog Millionaire could be in the works. A new production company, Bridge 7, just got the rights to make a sequel. Slumdog Millionaire, isn't that the story of a poor kid from the slums of India becoming a baseball star, if I can think about it correctly? I honestly can't remember too well, but you know what? Maybe I'll give it a shot. You never know. Number 3, Ben Stiller says there is no chance that Tropic Thunder would get made today. He said, in this environment, edgier comedy is just harder to do. The idea of Robert Downey Jr. playing a character who's playing an African-American character, it's incredibly dicey. Even at that time, of course, it was very dicey too. I really wish they would make that nowadays, but people would explode, people would go crazy, and it's insane that movie was even made in the first place, but it is so funny. I encourage everyone to watch Tropic Thunder. I've seen it once, and I knew nothing about it going in. I legit had no idea the premise, and if you don't want to be spoiled, the whole premise is that a bunch of these A-list actors, they all sign up for this movie, and they get put into this, I don't know if they're in Vietnam or Korea, they're somewhere in Asia, and they get thrown into this war-torn land, and they think that they're still shooting the movie, but they're really against, real dangerous people, and it's just so comical. I highly encourage that, but it is kind of true. They probably would not be able to make it today. Number four, there's a new live-action Lilo and Stitch movie coming out, and honestly, Stitch looks pretty good in it. I used to love those movies as a kid, and to see them making a, what do you call it, live-action movie, I'm very encouraged by that. So maybe check it out. Number 5, The Rock says people should be able to sing in movie theaters. He says, you've paid your hard-earned money for a ticket, and you've gone to a musical, and you're into it, sing. Wow, if Dwayne Johnson is telling me I need to sing in movies, I guess I have to sing in movies. I actually heard this the other day from one of my friends, that The Rock has a clause in his contract for movies that he can never die, or that he can never be portrayed as losing in the movie. He can't die, he can't lose to the final villain or whatever, which is utterly insane, as all the best actors are ones that have died in their films. I want you to think of the guy who plays Ned Stark. Okay, dude, oh my gosh, that guy is such a good actor. Love him, even though I can't remember his name off the top of my head. So maybe there is a reason The Rock chooses to never die in his movies. Number 6, the first episode of the final season of The Boys is titled 15 Inches of Sheer Dynamite. Holy cow, I don't even want to know. 15 Inches of Sheer Dynamite, Season 5, Episode 1. My roommate actually just started watching The Boys for the first time. He watched, Game of Thrones for the first time, which we're actually going to watch the ending of that tonight. And now he started The Boys. And, 15 Inches of Sheer Dynamite, I don't want to know what scenes they're going to cook up with that. But The Boys, one of my favorite TV shows. I'm excited for Season 5 whenever it comes out. Number 7, Timothée Chalamet was considered to play Lucius in Gladiator 2 before Ridley Scott watched the movie Normal People, and he chose whoever the main actor is in Gladiator 2. I can't remember his name. I do have to see Gladiator 2, but I first want to see Gladiator 1. The one reason also Timothée Chalamet could not play him is Timothy is not jacked. Okay, and, it's not Timothy's fault, but, the actor, Paul Mescas or something? I think it's Paul Mescas. He just looks perfect for the role. He looks like, oh my gosh, who played Gladiator? Russell Crowe. He looks like Russell Crowe's offspring. It just works out perfectly, but I really do want to watch Gladiator and then go see Gladiator 2. Number 8, what should we choose here? Venom: The Last Dance has joined the top 10 highest-grossing movies of 2024 worldwide. Beetlejuice 2 is now no longer on the list. Gosh, Venom: The Last Dance in the top 10 highest-grossing movies of 2024 worldwide. I didn't know it was that popular. Never really was interested in seeing it. Maybe I'll watch it on home DVD or something. But hey, good for that. I'll give it its props. Number, what are we on? Number 8. There's certain stuff here and there. I'm always trying to find actual interesting stuff. There's just a lot of John Watts says that he canceled Wolf's sequel after Apple took away the first film's theatrical release and moved it straight to streaming. I quietly returned the money that they gave me for the sequel. Apple didn't cancel the Wolf sequel. I did because I no longer trusted them as a creative partner. This movie starred Brad Pitt and George Clooney in a little like buddy cop film or spy thriller or something. Well, that's very interesting that John Watts didn't want to do it because they took away a theatrical release, which, what's his face? Daniel Craig, who plays James Bond. He's in the Glass Onion movie. They're making the third movie in that. What is it? Glass Onion, Knives Out trilogy. It's called Dead Men Tell No Tales or something, or like Dead Men Don't Speak. He wants that to have it a theatrical release, which I honestly support. I would go to a theater to see that. But the reason they aren't is because Netflix is greedy, all right? They don't want theatrical releases because it pays the actors more money. Fun fact, even though I could really care less how much actors are making. Number 9. What should we do for number 9? I always run out of order when I'm doing this. Am I on 8 or 9? Let's just go with number 9. Idris Elba is in early talks to star as Man-at-Arms in the live-action Masters in the Universe movie. I'm going to be honest, I don't know what Man-at-Arms is. I don't know what Masters in the Universe is, but Idris Elba is a dog, so maybe I'll have to see whatever that is. And number 10, what should be the final thing? What's something cool? Kraven the Hunter director J.C. Chandler hopes the film may wash away some of the negative reactions to the Sony universe of Marvel characters. Give our film a chance, he says. You know what? I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. Or was it Aaron Taylor? Can't remember. Aaron Johnson, whatever. And, he's the one playing Kraven. And I think he could deliver a performance that would really recapture the Sonyverse, if you will. Because they've repeatedly put out awful movies over the last few years. Kraven, it has some potential. But you never really know. You never really know with these Sonyverse movies. They're kind of average, if you ask me. But, those are your top 10 new things in pop culture. Nothing really too groundbreaking, but some interesting things if you want to stay updated on the movie world. But also, on today's agenda, we have to recap Week 12 of the NFL season. We had some fantastic games, guys. All right, and it started Thursday, and it just never freaking stopped. Also, some massive fantasy football performances. Let's get right into it. First off, Browns and Steelers. Browns win 24-19. I did not see that coming. All right, I did not see the Browns winning coming. 24-19, they shock the Steelers. I guess at home, the Browns were home, but Browns 3-8 now, first win in a while. Steelers 8-3, their first loss in a while. Calvin Austin the third, 16.8 fantasy points. Jaylen Warren 15.4, and Russell Wilson 13.8. But it is Nick Chubb who leads the day with 19 fantasy points for the Browns. Jerry Jeudy 14.5, Jameis Winston 13.46, and this was a back and forth game, and the Steelers were actually up until Nick Chubb punched in a touchdown with 57 seconds left, and the Steelers just couldn't get anything done towards the end of the game, and the Browns were able to win. This was such a feel-good moment for Jameis Winston. He was praising the Lord out there, which I absolutely loved. He is so entertaining. I'm so glad we have Jameis Winston in for the Browns. Okay, if you're a Browns fan, screw Deshaun Watson, screw whatever the other backup's name is. Jameis Winston is your guy. I want him on the Vikings, low-key. He would fit greatly here. As for Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson, 270 yards and a touchdown. It was snowing so badly in this game, you could barely even see the players on the field through the broadcast. Jaylen Warren, 45 rushing yards and a touchdown. Najee Harris, 41 rushes on 16 yards. 16 rushes on 41 yards, not too much. Freiermuth, 4 catches, 59 yards. Calvin Austin, third, 3 catches, 78 yards and a touchdown. George Pickens, 4 catches, 48 yards. On the final play, this final Hail Mary of the game for the Steelers to win, he is fighting one of the quarterbacks for the Browns in the back of the end zone. If you ever want to know a player who is crash out, who is a hazard, it is George Pickens. That boy is always on something. As for the Browns, 219 yards and an interception isn't the best for Jameis, but he did run in a touchdown like the dog he is. Nick Chubb, 59 yards and 2 touchdowns, was thankfully on the bench of my opponent in the league I actually cared about. I'm up 112-102 with Zay Flowers still to play. I'm probably going to be the number 2 team in a 16-man league. I'm coming for that championship. Wide receiver-wise, Jerry Jeudy, 6 catches, 85 yards, was the best player out there for the team. Great win for the Browns. Has to kind of rejuvenate some morale with the team. They're not going to do anything this year. Okay, they're going to get a top 10 draft pick, but you're not even the worst team. You know, you got the Titans, Jaguars, Raiders, Patriots, Jets. They're all at the bottom too, and I think the Browns would beat any of those teams. Jameis Winston, the highlight of this game. Good job to the Browns. After that, we got into a little NFL Sunday action and one of the not-so-entertaining games. Buccaneers, Giants, an absolute blowout, 30-7, and it was 30-0 at one point. Buccaneers, now 5-6, are second in the NFC South and are coming for that crown. As for the Giants, oh man, 2-9, 6-game losing streak, 0-6 at home. The fans were leaving midway through the fourth quarter. It's abysmal. 163 points. They have the worst offense in the league. And by the way, they cut Daniel Jones. He's either coming to the Cowboys, Ravens, or Vikings. This team is completely blowing themselves up. For the Buccaneers, Bucky Irving, 27.1 fantasy points. He is slowly stealing that number one running back spot. Baker Mayfield, 18.66. He was balling. And Mike Evans, 11.8. Not too bad. Malik Neighbors, 12.4. Tommy DeVito, 10.76. And Vondell Robinson, 9.7. That's all they had to show. I mean, truly, it was abysmal heading into halftime. It was 23-0. Then Rachaad White scored in the third. And then Devin Singletary scored early in the fourth. And just nothing transpired from there. Baker Mayfield, 294 yards passing, 24 for 30 on completions, and even rushed in a touchdown on 4 attempts. Rachaad White rushed in a touchdown, Bucky Irving rushed in a touchdown, and Sean Tucker rushed in a touchdown. 4 rushing touchdowns on the day. Impeccable. Bucky Irving, 6 catches, 64 yards. Mike Evans, 5 catches, 68 yards. Cade Otton, 1 catch, 30 yards. How about Sterling Shepard? 5 catches, only 16 yards. Very interesting. You also had 7 players catching 1 pass. Pretty interesting day for the Buccaneers. But really it was their defense that really showed out in this one. Giants, Tommy DeVito, 189 yards. He is benched for the final drive of the game when Drew Lock came in and threw a pass. Tracy Jr., 9 rushes, 42 yards. Tommy DeVito, 7 rushes, 32 yards. Singletary had 2 rushes, one of which was a 1-yard touchdown. Malik Neighbors, 6 catches, 64 yards. Vondell Robinson, 5 catches, 47 yards. This team is just not good. Not good at all. The only good thing to come from this is that the Buccaneers are back in the playoff hunt. And, it's tough in the NFC. The Eagles are going to win the NFC East. The NFC West is up for grabs. Lions are probably going to win the North. They have to be careful, though. My Vikings are hot on their tail. Same with the Packers. But as we get down to the NFC South, it's going to be a battle between the Falcons, Buccaneers, and I'm even throwing the Saints in there. So if the Falcons really want to clinch it, they really have to get some wins together because the Buccaneers are coming for the throne. After that, let's get into all of our entertaining games because there was a lot of them. This one, entertaining, Chiefs and Panthers. I want you to just all know that the Panthers aren't the worst team in the league anymore, but they still are pretty bad, and they bring the Chiefs down to a 30-27 game, and it ends on a 31-yard game-winning field goal. The Panthers played their ass off, and, despite losing to the Chiefs, they never looked better in their lives. Panthers fall to 3-8, but this was a win for me, a win for them in my book. Chiefs 10-1 back in the win column. Who cares? Who cares about them? Honestly, this was just an amazing performance all around by the Panthers. Patrick Mahomes, 28.76 fantasy points. Finally, a fantasy performance from Patrick Mahomes. It had been a minute since he did anything. Noah Gray, 22.6 fantasy points. DeAndre Hopkins, 14.5. For the Panthers, the tight end, David Moore, 20.1. Bryce Young, 16.52. And Chuba Hubbard, 15. There was 1 point. This was tied 27-27 with under 2 minutes as Chuba Hubbard not only got a touchdown, but got a 2-point conversion. It was so hype, and Panthers were down. Panthers were down heading into the third quarter, and they were even down heading into the fourth, but they rallied. They put it all together, and it took a 31-yard game-winning field goal for them to lose. Honestly, this was so entertaining. Mahomes, 269 yards and 3 touchdowns. He obviously shred this Panthers defense. Kareem Hunt, though, held in check, 68 yards rushing. Mahomes actually almost had more with 60. Noah Gray, 4 catches, 66 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce, 6 catches, 62 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 5 catches, 35 yards, and a touchdown. Xavier Worthy, 4 catches, 46 yards. Everyone was getting involved. For Carolina, Bryce Young, 263 yards and a touchdown. Doing all he could. Chuba Hubbard, 58 yards rushing and a touchdown. David Moore, 6 catches, 81 yards and a touchdown. The return of Adam Thielen, he had 3 catches for 57 yards. Leggett caught some balls. Sanders caught some balls. Everyone was touching the balls. But, this wasn't game of the week. This wasn't game of the day. But Chiefs and Panthers really was entertaining down to the very end. Tough to see the Panthers losing, but they gave the Chiefs a run for their money. After that, Cowboys and Commanders. This game, holy cow, for no reason was bonkers. No reason was bonkers. Let's start with the fantasy points here. Okay, by the way, 34-26, Cowboys win. Dallas defense, 19 fantasy points. Cooper Rush, 17.98. CeeDee Lamb, 16.8. Commanders, Jaden Daniels, 30.4. Terry McLaurin, 21.2. Zach Ertz, 15.8. All right? Scoring plays, all right? First quarter, a field goal from Austin Seibert. Second quarter, field goal from Brandon Aubrey. All right? And by the way, Brandon Aubrey was off this game. He missed, I think, 1 or 2 in the first quarter. It was abysmal. But then we get into third quarter. It's 3-3. Jaden Daniels runs in a touchdown. Then Jalen Tolbert catches a touchdown, right? So it's 10-10 heading into the fourth quarter. We then have 4 scores from the Cowboys and 3 scores from the Commanders in one of the most entertaining fourth quarters of all time. First off, Brandon Aubrey gets us going with a field goal. Then Luke Shoemaker catches a touchdown pass from Cooper Rush. That's at the 5-minute mark. 3-minute mark, Zach Ertz catches a touchdown pass. Jalen Daniels runs in a 2-point conversion. After that, Kayvontae Turpin has a 99-yard kickoff return with one of the nastiest spins I've seen in my entire life. I mean, oh my gosh, hit him with a juke spin at the 10-yard line and just took off down the field. It looked like something out of Madden. It was insane, all right? Minute 40 mark, Austin Seibert hits a 51-yard field goal, all right? They then get the ball back. With 21 seconds left, Terry McLaurin catches an 86-yard touchdown pass from Jaden Daniels. And Terry McLaurin had been doing nothing the entire game and rattles off an 86-yard touchdown. And you're like, oh my gosh, this game is not over. All right. Commanders kick the ball downfield. I think they actually went for I remember they go for an onside kick, and Juwanye Thomas catches it and returns it. Oh my gosh, this is all coming back to me. Commanders go for an onside kick, boot it right to the Cowboys guy. He takes it straight up the field, and the Cowboys defense scores again because it counts as defense to special teams. Then Cowboys kick it downfield again. It's an 8-point game, and Austin Eckler dies on the punt return, the kickoff return, and he just gets lit up. Then you get a Hail Mary from Jaden Daniels, which doesn't even reach the end zone, and that was an insane performance from the Cowboys to get their first win in I don't even know how long. Cowboys are now 4-7. Just insane for the Cowboys. My way of those 4 wins all on the road. Commanders 7-5, 3-game losing streak. They have lost the NFC East. The Eagles have completely taken it over. Cooper Rush, 247 yards and 2 touchdowns was ballin'. Rico Dowdle, 86 yards rushing. CeeDee Lamb, 10 catches, 67 yards. Shoemaker and Tolbert catching the only touchdowns. Jaden Daniels, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 7 rushes, 74 yards, 1 touchdown. He was going off. Scary Terry, 5 catches, 102 yards and a touchdown. Noah Brown, 6 catches, 71 yards. And Zach Ertz, 6 catches, 4, 1 of them a touchdown. Commanders, this was a tough loss, but the Cowboys, this just felt good. You know what? Cowboys really needed a win to get the team morale up. And you'd be surprised to know playoff chances are not out the door for the Cowboys. They're going to need a miracle. They're going to need to win at home at some point, but it's not out the door. Insane game here. A not so insane game. Dolphins and Patriots. Dolphins win 34-15. Yeah, Patriots, it's over for them. 3-9, 2-game losing streak. They're just awful. As for the Dolphins' 3-game winning streak, 5-6 now, second in the AFC East. They have playoff hopes alive. All right, their playoff hopes are wide open as the Dolphins have kind of had a little resurgence here over the course of November. Austin Hooper, 15.9 fantasy points for the Pats. Drake May, 13.48. Demario Douglas, 11.3. Tua Tagovailoa, 28.48 fantasy points. Jayden Waddle, 28.4. And Jonnu Smith, 23.7. This game was 31 rip heading into the fourth quarter, and then Austin Hooper caught a 38-yard touchdown pass. Then Christian Gonzalez has 63-yard punt return fumble. 63-yard fumble return. What am I talking about with a punt? And then Jason Sanders hit field goal to end the game. But, there was a moment there where it was like Patriots had complete momentum swing to open up the fourth quarter. But other than that, nothing for this New England team. Drake made 222 yards, touchdown and interception. Not awful, but not good. Nothing in the running department. Antonio Gibson, 6 rushes, 31 yards, the leading rusher. Demario Douglas, 5 catches, 62 yards. Hooper had 4 catches for 59 yards and a touchdown. That's just about it. Miami, Tua, 4 touchdowns, 317 yards. He was looking incredible. Devin Achane, 32 yards rushing, but also had 3 catches, 24 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jayden Waddle, 8 catches, 144 yards, and a touchdown. And Jonnu Smith, 9 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown. Good win for the Dolphins here. Doing well fantasy-wise for any of the Dolphins players. It's going to be a rough road ahead, but a big win over a divisional opponent. I don't think the playoffs are completely out of the Miami Dolphins' future. Good game here between the Titans and the Texans. Another divisional game, and the Texans are trying their hardest to lose the AFC South as they are now 7-5. Titans, not even the worst team in the league now, 3-8. Great win for them, and what a shocker. What an upset for the Titans. Tony Pollard, 21.9 fantasy points. Nick Folk, 18. Will Levis, 16.12. Nico Collins gets 20 fantasy points in the 5-point loss. Houston defense 18, CJ Stroud 15.68, but 32-27. Great win for the Titans. And I mean, this was shocking. This was shocking because at one point it was 27-20. Actually, it was 27 to, I think it was 23. Yeah, it was 27-23. And then Chig Okonkwo caught a 70-yard touchdown pass from Will Levis to make it 30-27. And then an excellent kick put him in the end zone. CJ Stroud is pushed out of bounds for a safety, and the Titans are able to just kneel it out and win. Crazy stuff. Will Levis, 278 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Looked better than he had in the past few weeks. Tony Pollard, 119 yards and a touchdown. He was looking exceptional. Calvin Ridley, 5 catches, 93 yards. Like I said, Chig had 1 catch. It was a 70-yard touchdown. And Nick Westbrook-Akini, who I started in fantasy, 2 catches, 48 yards, and a touchdown. Titans, you ain't making the playoffs, but you are spoiling the Texans' chances. CJ Stroud, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns, picked off twice. What was going on? Joe Mixon held to 22 yards rushing. Oh my gosh. Nico Collins, 5 catches, 92 yards and a touchdown was the only bright spot for this Texans team. Texans, man, I don't even know if any other games are winnable. You know, they're playing the Jaguars. They should win that. They're playing the Dolphins. I don't think they can handle that offense. They play the Chiefs. This Texans team may beat the Chiefs. They play the Ravens. This team may beat the Ravens. They'll rematch the Titans in Tennessee. I don't know if they're going to win the conference. Not the conference, the division. I mean, I don't know. Texans really got to figure it out. But honestly, Titans, when the upset teams win, you kind of feel good. One of our more boring games, unfortunately, Lions and Colts. Lions win 24-6. But props to the Colts defense. Colts defense actually played pretty good. 5-7, you know, this was like a Panthers loss, but not as good as of the Panthers losses they had. They really held the Lions in check, despite the Lions doing pretty good. Lions, I mean, they are now the second team to reach double-digit wins. 10-1, 9-game win streak, 6-0 on the road. This team's good. This team's freaking good. They're approaching plus 200 point differential. Yeah, they're scary. Jahmyr Gibbs, 24.9 fantasy points. Dave Montgomery, 16.3. And Amon-Ra, 12.2. Michael Pittman Jr., 15.6. 12.98 for Anthony Richardson. And 6 for Matt Gay. Scoring-wise, actually started out 3-0 heading into the second quarter in favor of the Colts. Then 2 touchdowns turned it into a 14-6 lead heading into halftime. Jahmyr would score again. Jake Bates would hit a field goal. Colts offense could just never recover. Jared Goff, 269 yards, doing what he could do. Jahmyr Gibbs, 90 yards rushing for 2 touchdowns. Dave Montgomery, only 8 carries. They gave it to Jahmyr a lot today. One of those was a touchdown, though. Amon-Ra, 6 catches, 62 yards. Jameson Williams, 5 catches, 64 yards. Tim Patrick, some catches. This team just overall is very good. The Lions defense looking stout as ever. Anthony Richardson, 172 yards, rushed for 61. That was all they could do. Pittman, 6 catches, 96 yards. Downs held the 3 catches and 27 yards and got injured. Alec Pierce had 1 catch. Adonai Mitchell, 1 catch. I mean, this Lions team is just super good. You know, as good as the Colts defense played, their offense just couldn't handle this Lions team. And that was that. Lions get it done. Honestly, feel good win for this Lions team. And they got a fun one coming up against the Bears on Thanksgiving. I am pumped for that matchup. Then it's the Packers on Thursday, December 5th. Then it's the Bills, Bears again, 49ers, and Vikings. It's no easy road for the Lions moving forward. But I'll tell you who is going to give them some trouble, and that is Week 18, as they will play the Minnesota Vikings, who I don't get it. I'm a Vikings fan. You know, why can't I be a Chiefs fan, a Lions fan? Why can't my team ever freaking not bring a game down to the wire? Okay, game of the week might have been Commanders, Commanders, and Cowboys. But honestly, Vikings and Bears had one of the craziest endings to a game I've ever seen. All right. By the way, Vikings win. We're 9-2, second in the NFC North. We're currently the 5th seed. 4-game win streak. We have a great point differential, plus 77. And as for the Bears, 4-7, 5-game losing streak. They are pretty bad. The Bears are pretty bad. Fantasy-wise, Jordan Addison, 30 fantasy points. Sam Darnold, 21.1. Aaron Jones, 19.9 for the Bears. DJ Moore, 26.9. Caleb Williams, 26.9. And Keenan Allen, 23.6. 30-27, the final score. Let me take you through this game, all right? Starts off 7-0. Bears score a touchdown in the first quarter. After that, we answer with 2 touchdowns, all right, from Jalen Naylor and Jordan Addison in the second quarter. Cairo Santos then hits a field goal to end it, and we go 14-10, heading into halftime. We then scored 10 points unanswered in the third to make it 20. What do we make it? I'm trying to do some math right here. We made it 24. It was 24-10 heading into the fourth quarter. Then it was 24-17. Then it was 27-17. Then, out of nowhere, with under 2 minutes left, we give up a touchdown drive. Okay, we give up a full touchdown drive and a 2-point conversion. All right, then it is 27-24. And the Bears get an onside kick. Then DJ Moore catches a wide open pass, and they hit a 48-yard field goal that's sent to overtime. All right, and to make matters worse, the Bears won the coin toss, but thankfully the number 1 defense in the NFL Football League, the Vikings, hold on and were able to set John Parker Romer up for a 29-yard chipper, and we win with 2 minutes left in overtime. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? We were up 10 with 10 minutes left. Not 10 minutes, I'm sorry, under 2 minutes left. And they freaking send it to overtime. The Bears fans, I'm sure, were going ballistic, but in typical Bears fashion, they choke at the buzzer. Vikings thankfully escape. We actually have the most one-score wins since 2022 in the league. Insane. Sam Darnold, 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. No turnovers. Actually, he might have fumbled, but he didn't throw a pick. You got to look for the positives. Nick Mullins actually came in for 1 play and threw a 14-yard pass, which was very entertaining. Good job, Nick. Aaron Jones, 106 yards and a touchdown, was ballin'. Jordan Addison, 8 catches, 160 yards and a touchdown in the top 5 fantasy performances. Might have been in the top 3, actually. TJ Hawkinson, 7 catches, 114 yards. Justin Jefferson, 2 catches, 27 yards, held in check. Naylor, 1 catch, 1 touchdown. Good for him. For the Bears, we let Caleb Williams drop 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wow. How did that even happen? We really shut down the running game. Swift, Williams, Moore, Johnson, everyone kind of held in check. But passing-wise, Keenan Allen, 9 catches, 86 yards and a tutty. DJ Moore, 7 catches, 106 yards and a touchdown. Cole Kmet, 7 catches, 64 yards. The Bears really gave it to us in the passing game, but we hung in there. And the Vikings will advance to another week with a win. Vikings, the win streak continues. We play the Cardinals December 1st, so next Sunday, which will be a tough game. That Cardinals team does not go away too easily. After that's the Falcons, which the state of this Falcons team, I'll be very curious to see how we perform. Both those games are at home. We then have the Bears at home, which should be a good rematch. That's December 16th at 7 o'clock. Vikings will visit the Seahawks December 22nd, and then the final game of 2024 for the Vikings will be against the Packers in Minneapolis, and then we take to the road to take on the Lions January 5th at some unspecified time, because who knows, that could be for the NFC North and potentially the number 1 or 2 seed in the playoffs. It's getting down to the wire. It's getting crazy. Getting into the 3:30 games, none were entertaining. Broncos beat the Raiders 29-19. No shocker there. Broncos 7-5. Playoff hopes alive. Raiders 2-9. 7-game losing streak. It was abysmal. It was awful. It was an awful performance from the Raiders. Cortland Sutton, 29.7 fantasy points. Bo Nix was loving him. Will Lutz, 22 fantasy points. Bo Nix, 29.42 in the 10-point win. Jacoby Myers had 22 fantasy points. Amir Abdullah, 17.5. Trey Tucker, 15.2. Just really nothing. Field goals over and over and over. Bo Nix, 273 yards and 2 touchdowns. McLaughlin, 7 rushes, 44 yards. Javonte Williams, 8 rushes, -2 yards. The Raiders' rushing defense was phenomenal, shutting them down over and over and over again. I was very proud of what they were doing there. As for the passing game, the Broncos cooked the Raiders secondary. Cortland Sutton, 8 catches, 2 touchdowns on 97 yards. Valet, 6 catches, 80 yards. Mims had catches. Franklin had catches. Everyone had catches. We actually had 2 quarterbacks in this game, as Gardner Minshew was benched for Desmond Ridder. Minshew throws 230 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Ridder threw for 64 yards. Rushing game shut down as well. Jacoby Myers, 10 catches, 121 yards. But the only person I cared about was Brock Bowers, who on 8 targets only had 4 catches for 38 yards. They really held Brock in check, and I think that's what limited the Raiders' success. This Raiders season is over. They might be, them and the Jaguars are competing for worst team in the league. And as of right now, they might be the worst. The Raiders might be the worst. They're probably going to be firing their head coach. They're probably going to draft a quarterback. It's looking rough in Vegas. Where else did it look rough? Probably in San Francisco, as they were all crying. As I knew the Packers would win this. I picked them to win. But the fashion they did, 38-10, they really handed it to this 49ers team. Packers 8-3 now, third in the NFC North. That's how good we are. Packers, Vikings, Lions, running the mill. If only the Bears were as good as they used to be. As for the 49ers, 5-6 are the worst team in the NFC West. A shocking fall off from what many thought would be a return to the Super Bowl. George Kittle, 20 fantasy points, no surprise. Next biggest, Juwan Jennings, 9. Braylon Allen, 8.46. Oh my gosh. Or Braden Allen, I think it is. Josh Jacobs, 28.6. Ran all over this 49ers defense. Jordan Love, 14.72. And the Packers defense, 13. From the get-go, just started off the game 17 rip. Then George Kittle made 17-7. Then 24-7, 24-10. Then 2 touchdowns in the fourth, and that was it. That was wraps. Great performance overall from the Packers. Allen stepping in at quarterback with Brock Purdy out, 199 yards, touchdown and pick. Couldn't do much. McCaffrey held to 31 yards. Kittle, 6 catches, 82 yards and a touchdown. The only bright spot. Only bright spot for this team. Packers, Jordan Love, only 162 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's all he did. But Josh Jacobs hits the trifecta, 26 rushes, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dobbs caught passes, Reed caught patches, Kraft. Everyone was catching passes. This was the Josh Jacobs show on today's episode of a Packers game. Good win. Packers always going to be 1 game behind the Vikings, always going to be 2 games behind the Lions. NFC North going to come down to the final few games of the season. As for the 49ers, oddly, they're only a game behind the team in first, second, and they're tied with the team in third. NFC West is wide open. They all are kind of just equally mediocre. And speaking of the NFC West, our final 3:30 game, Seahawks win 16-6 over the Cardinals. Cardinals win streak is snapped, and now the Seahawks 6-5 are the best team in the NFC West. Cardinals are also 6-5. Every team is just so even. It's pretty impressive. And the 16-6 win, Trey McBride, 25.3 fantasy points, went off for the Cardinals. I had to play him in fantasy. Arizona defense with 12. Kyler Murray held to only 10. Jackson Smith and Jigba has just emerged as wide receiver 1, 19.7 points. I love him. Seattle defense 19, and Kenneth Walker 13. Tail of this game, you had a 69-yard interception from Kobe Bryant. Okay, he was this defense for the Seahawks was at its prime of the season, only allowing 2 field goals. Impressive stuff all around. As for this Cardinals defense, not too bad. They only gave up 10 points, a touchdown to Jackson Smith and Jigba in the second, and a field goal in the fourth. That's really all they did. So a great defensive battle in this game, just not that entertaining. Kyler Murray, 285 yards and a pick. Didn't do anything. Rushing-wise, the entire team combined. Let me do some quick math for you. 39 rushing yards from the Cardinals in general. Holy cow, Seahawks defense showing up. Trey McBride, 12 catches, 133 yards, was the only good stuff. The only good stuff. As for Seattle, Geno, 254 yards, touchdown and pick. Not too bad. Kenneth held the 41 yards rushing, but was able to get 4 catches for 52 yards. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 6 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. I love that boy. Not much to say here. The NFC West will come down to the end, and honestly, none of them will be as deserving as the 3 teams are in the NFC North. Getting into Sunday Night Football, the best performance in fantasy. I think of the second best of the season, I think it was. And he is my starting running back in my 16-man league. That is Saquon Barkley. All right, we're going to mention his point total in just a second. Eagles win 37-20. Eagles are now on a 7-game win streak, 9-2. They are looking beautiful as ever, almost a plus 100 point differential, thanks to Saquon Barkley's 46.2 fantasy points. Saquon Barkley was outscoring fantasy teams out there just by his lonesome. Holy cow. A.J. Brown, 22.9. Jalen Hurts, 15.06. This was the Saquon Barkley show. The most rushing yards in a game since 2009. Incredible. Puka drops 20. Cooper drops 20. Stafford, 19.22. So the trifecta of the Rams just couldn't handle Saquon Barkley. Where do I even begin? In the third quarter to kick off the second half, Saquon Barkley, 70-yard rush. All right. With 2 minutes left, Saquon Barkley, another 72-yard rush. He went absolutely insane in this performance. I was taken aback. I was going crazy. Jalen Hurts, 179 yards and touchdown. Mediocre. Saquon Barkley, 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. And by the way, he got over 300 yards total for the game with 4 catches, 47 yards. This guy This freaking guy, 302 total yards on the game just from Saquon Barkley. Impeccable with Devontae Smith out. A.J. Brown, 6 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown. Look good. The Rams, Matthew Stafford, 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did all right. Puka, 9 catches, 117 yards. Cup, 8 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Kyron Williams, 16 rushes, 72 yards, and a touchdown. Good stuff all around. For the Eagles, they will remain the best team in the NFC East. Actually, I think they're second best in the NFC. As for the Rams, third in the NFC West. It's wide open, though. It's wide open. It is anyone's for the taking. But that is your NFL Week 12 recap. A lot of action, a lot of fun. I think this was one of the best weeks in football all around. And despite receiving odd news throughout the entire day, the NFL managed to cheer me up. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our UFC Macau Recap. Hello. We'll talk about what is next for each of the fighters as this card was going on at frickin' 2 in the morning here in Minnesota. Insane. Let's talk about it. As the first fight of the night started, I had just gotten back from the bar, and let me just tell you, there's just something about being up at 2 in the morning watching UFC that was just so freeing. We kick things off. Nicholas Mota and Mahashat, and son of a gun Mahashat, losing in front of your home nation of China. Unreal. Nicholas Mota wins by unanimous decision, 30-27s across the board, and he was a plus 170 underdog, so underdogs cashing right off the bat. Honestly impressive. Honestly, pretty impressive. From the get-go, Mota dropped Mahashat in round 1, and honestly, Mahashat landed some good shots here and there, but never nothing enough to really put Mota away. Never even attempted a takedown, oddly. Mota outstruck him by 1 significantly in round 2, and then round 3 dropped Mahashat again, outstriking him 28-16. Very interesting. Very interesting fight. It was all right. It was an all right fight. Nicholas Mota, 2-fight winning streak now after being on the verge of being cut. He is now 15-5 professionally. Good for him. He'll remain in the UFC. Mahashat, this is his second fight of the year, first loss of the year. He is 1-3 in the last 4. So if I'm Mahashat, I'm probably looking at someone of lesser competition, or maybe a pick-me-up fight. Maybe someone like, who was it? What was his name? Pedro Munoz, who just lost recently. It could be a pick-me-up fight for him. But in the lightweight division, Mahashat, probably not going to be getting any action soon. Nicholas Mota, no real idea what to really do with you. There's tons of unranked lightweights out there for you to fight. I mean, any on this card? No lightweights on this card, but damn, it happened. So, interesting fight to open the evening. It wasn't until the next fight that we really got going as Zhao Long beats Quang Li with a round 3 knockout. We thought Quang Li would win. We really did, the Minnesota boy. We had him going, but now Zhao Long getting his 5th career knockout. Very impressive 14th career finish. He improves to 27-9. Second fight of the year for Zhao Long. He had lost earlier in June, but bounced back with a big knockout win here. As for Quang Li, he's now 0-2, and this is the first time in his career he's been finished in the UFC. Tail of this fight, back and forth for the first 2 rounds. Round 1, Zhao Long winning, outstriking him 40-29. Round 2, Quang Li, actually Zhao Long won, and Zhao Long outstruck Quang Li 35-25 in round 2. Round 3 comes around, and Quang Li shoots, gets back up, and gets absolutely caught with a straight. Down he went, and Zhao Long back in the win column. Good win here. Zhao Long coming to you from China, so the China man getting it done, home nation, if you will. Victory for Zhao Long. Impressive stuff, bantamweight division. We'll have you. There's another bantamweight fight on this card, and I'll probably just match make those two together. In terms of what to do at Quang Li, I don't really know. I don't really know what to do at Quang Li. You're 0-2 in the UFC. Tough loss here. Maybe they'll give him one more shot. We'll have to see. After that, Loner Kavanagh took on Jose Ocha in the first flyweight matchup of the evening. And Loner Kavanagh takes home a unanimous decision, improving to 8-0 undefeated. Jose Ocha losing his first UFC fight. Actually, first professional fight, I should better say. Tail of the fight, 51 significant strikes to 50 in favor of Kavanagh. 0-2 on takedowns for Kavanagh, 0-1 for Ochoa. This was fought on the feet. Round 1 to Kavanagh, round 2 to Ochoa. Kavanagh wins round 3. Getting it done. Good win for the kid. Honestly, Kavanagh coming into this one, minus 370. Big favorite, 25 years old. And Ocha, he's 23. He'll be back. But Kavanagh, going to be moving on with a big win here. And I'm just going to match make the winner of this fight and the loser of this fight with our next fight, which was a flyweight matchup. This one between Carlos Hernandez and Nyamjagal Tumendemberel. And this one on the verdict scorecard had Nyamjagal winning, but Carlos Hernandez will be taking home the decision in China. This one going to a split decision. Round one, Nyamjagal dropped Carlos, outstruck him 12-11 significantly, but Carlos did land a takedown for almost 2 minutes of control time. Round two comes around. Carlos lands actually lands 3 takedowns for just under 3 minutes of control time. Nyamjagal only lands 2 significant strikes. Round three, Carlos goes 0-5, 21 significant strikes to 12, but the verdict scorecard had Nyamjagal winning this one. Unfortunately, he does not get the nod. First loss of his professional career. He is now 8-1. Carlos Hernandez, first win since June of last year. So good win for Carlos, snapping a 2-fight losing streak. He's now 10-4. But I perfectly like the matchup. Carlos and Loner, Jose and Nyamjagal. I mean, they're on the same card. They both went to close decisions. Just seems to right itself. Good job to Carlos. He was the favorite, and he got this one done. But after that, this was the first really good moment of the card, and a huge moment. It's been shared all over social media as Shi Ming, down 2 rounds, knocks out Feng Zhaokan with a nasty head kick. Shi Ming, the plus 260 underdog. Holy cow, Shi Ming. This is only her second career knockout, now on a 5-fight winning streak. Shi Ming outstruck 18-12 in round 1, did land 1 takedown, though. Outstruck 27-13 in round 2. Round 3, it got going, and Shi Ming needed to light it up, and she manages to land a flush head kick right against the skull of Feng Zhaokan, and out she went. To 50K performance bonus greeted Shi Ming dominant, absolutely dominant. It is regarded as one of the best knockouts on the card. There were a lot of good knockouts on this card, and Shi Ming got us going. Women's strawweight division, you have an absolute killer in Shi Ming. You know, there's plenty of unranked women's strawweights out there. None on this card, but I will be excited to see what else she brings to the table. Feng Zhaokan, I don't think she's done, but she's 22. She's young. She'll be back, but as for now, this is the Feng Zhaokan show, if you will. No, the Shi Ming show. Sorry, I'm getting all the names confused. Shi Ming, dirty knockout, beautiful. After that, another spectacular knockout as Dong Hun Choi knocks out Kiro Sahota in round number 1, 2.5 minutes into the contest, and he was out. That'll be his 4th career knockout for Dong Hun Yu. And as for, who's he took in? Bergang Yasili. What am I looking at here? Wait a second. Dong Hao Cho. I'm getting all these names mixed up. I am so sorry to all of China for getting all your names mixed up. Dong Hun Choi knocks out Kiro Sahota. Dong Hun Choi, yes, 4th career knockout. Good win for him. Caught him with a nice right. Down he went. That was that. The other contest, Su Young Yu, Bergang Yasili. Su Young Yu dominates. And these were all the road to the UFC matchups. No idea who any of these fighters were, but I did not good. I went 1-7 on prelims. Actually, I went 1-6 on the prelims for predictions. The Bergang Yasili, Su Young Yu fight. Su Young outgrappled him 4.5 minutes control time. Outstruck him 42-9 significantly. Domination for Su Young Yu. Su Young Yu will improve to 14-3. Bergang Yasili falls to 18-6. All these names, very, very tough to pronounce. I can't lie. But the biggest moments on the prelims you need to know: Dong Hun Choi, nasty round 1 knockout. Shi Ming, crazy round 3 head kick, and Zhao Long getting a round 3 knockout as well. Good stuff all around. Even though we only predicted 1 fight correctly. We got into the main card, though, and this is where things somewhat turned around. We go 4-2 on our main card predictions. Kicking us off, Zhang Ming Yang, this beast, this animal, Zhang Mountain Tiger Ming Yang, does it again. 18 wins, 18 round 1 finishes. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? The win streak is now at 11 fights. This dude is insane. A round 1 elbow, 2 minutes, 25 seconds into the opening contest, and Ozzy Diaz was down and out for the contest. Ozzy Diaz, this is the 3rd time he's been knocked out in his career. And by the way, he has 3 career losses. Zhang Ming Yang, I don't want to throw you to the wolves, but I mean, when you're doing so good as he is at light heavyweight, it's hard not to. 18 wins, all round 1 finishes. That is just insane. And there's a couple guys out there he could fight. Alonzo Menafield, He could always take on the loser of Anthony Smith and Dominic Reyes. But I would like to see this guy in the rankings. He just has almost these bricks in his fist. He's putting guys out left and right, especially so far in the UFC. I mean, incredible run to start out the UFC career. 3 wins, 3 knockouts. I'm excited to see what Zhang Mingyang brings to the table in the future. Ozzy Diaz, I doubt you're getting invited back to the UFC. You've been knocked out by Joe Pyfer and now by Zhang Mingyang. Maybe they'll give him a lesser opponent, but I severely doubt it. Speaking of light heavyweight, we got some top 10 action as Carlos Ulberg took on Volkan Ozdemir, and all the judges saw it the same, except for Evan Field, who had it 29-28, but it was 30-27, 30-27, as Carlos Ulberg beats Volkan Ozdemir by unanimous decision. Carlos was ranked 10, Volkan 8. I think Carlos will move up to the number 8 spot in the rankings. Good win in this one. 98 significant strikes to 96 was very close. Volkan had 2 takedown attempts in the third, but that was just about it. Round 1, Volkan outstruck him 29-24. Some bigger strikes looked like they were landed for Carlos, though. Round 2, Carlos outstruck him 29-28, and he ends the fight 45-39, outstriking Volkan Ozdemir. Great win for Carlos Ulberg. I thought this fight would end quickly, but when you have 2 guys that both have round 1 finishing abilities, usually those fights go the full distance. Carlos now has a 7-fight win streak at light heavyweight, and with being ranked number 8, he's poised for a big opportunity coming forward. A lot of options on his table. I think the number 5 ranked Alexander Rakic would be a great test for him. Maybe even the number 6 ranked Nikita Krylov. Whoever it is, Carlos Ulberg will be getting a top 10 opponent coming up, or almost top 5, honestly. Volkan Ozdemir does snap his little 2-fight winning streak, unfortunately. He will be 28-8 professionally now. I don't think this is the end of Volkan Ozdemir. He'll be ranked number 9 come the rankings update on Tuesday, actually when this episode airs. And as for what's next, there's the number 11th ranked Nazmat Mirzakhanov. There is the winner of Dominic Reyes and Anthony Smith. There's quite a few options. You can even throw Zhang Mingyang at this guy. But Volkan getting outclassed. Carlos Ulberg proving he's here, proving he's ready. He was the favorite for a reason. Good job to Carlos Ulberg. Then after that, the biggest upset of the year, perhaps, in insane fashion, as the minus 950 Wang Kong is knocked out by the plus 550 Gabriela Fernandez in round number 2. Actually, she wasn't knocked out. She was knocked down, shockingly, and Gabriela took her back with ease and submitted her. And Wang Kong was coming in with some huge momentum. 6-0, all finishes. He'll shield a win over Valentina Shevchenko in kickboxing. Round 1, Wang Kong's looking slick. The movement, the takedown defense, the shots are landing. Round 2, she's looking good too, and then just gets caught with a perfect shot. She gets dropped down. Gabriela perfectly takes the back, and she gets her 4th career submission. Incredible. Incredible for Gabriela Fernandez. This is now 2 wins, 2 performance bonuses in 2024. Actually, she had a fight of the night in June. All right, Gabriela Fernandez, incredible. Wang Kong, this reminds me of like when Islam Makhachev got knocked out. Just the one fighter who just has a shocking win over someone early on in their career. Because I know Gabriela Fernandez is not as good as Wang Kong, but hey, she gets a performance bonus. She pulls off the huge upset. And all we got to do is wait for Wang Kong to come back. So both these ladies, they'll be back in action. The women's flyweight division has tons of fighters. But man, what an upset. Truly impeccable. Truly impeccable. Great win for Gabriela Fernandez. After that, thankfully the final fight we did not predict correctly. I mean, Muslim Slikov, Song Kinong, you would think Song Kinong in front of his home nation would win. But no. He is knocked out for the 5th time in his career as Muslim Slikov lands a crazy spinning wheel kick to Song Kinong's head. Down Song Kinong goes. Muslim lands hardly any follow-up shots. He was knocked out cold. Song Kinong, wow. He now sits at 2-4 in his last 6. Yikes. As for Muslim Slikov, 2-fight winning streak now. All right, started 2024 off getting knocked out. Now he's wound his way up with a little 2-1 to round out 2024 2-fight win streak. Good win for Muslim Slikov, and that is his 16th career knockout. How about that, Muslim? Excellent work. I don't really know what to do. He's an unranked welterweight. There's going to be fights out there. How about Tony Ferguson? I'm always going to suggest these veteran welterweights to fight Tony Ferguson. I think that's the option. As for Kenan, knocked out in round 1 in front of your people in China, not the best look. I don't know if he'll be returning to another contest. They might, but you never know. After that, ladies and gentlemen, co-main event came around. 3-round decision for Yan Cheonan over Tabitha Ritchie, and this was just a skill issue. All right, Yan Cheonan, the number 2 woman strawweight in the world, taking on the number 10 ranked Tabitha Ritchie. In the tail of the fight, first off, credit to Tabitha. She landed a takedown round 2, but only for 16 seconds. Tabitha just didn't throw. Round 1, 16 significant strikes to 0. Tabitha didn't land a single strike despite standing on the feet the entire time. Jan just outstruck her casually. Round 2, 25 significant strikes to 8. All right, even better. Round 3, 37-7. I mean, Yan Xiaonan, 78 significant strikes to 15, 89 total strikes to 17. So she just outstruck her. It looks like Tabitha Ritchie was in sparring, and Yan Xiaonan probably could have went in for a finish. But hey, she did what she needed to do. Gets the win. 3-1 in her last 4. Only losses to Zhang Weili in a title shot. And I think Yan Xiaonan is probably going to end up getting another title shot. You know, we'll see how Virna Jandiroba and Tatiana Suarez goes. But I really like her odds here. Tabitha Ritchie, that snaps a 2-fight winning streak. Actually was 2-0 in 2024. That's just tough. It's tough, but Tabitha, when you aren't going to do anything, people are going to take advantage of that. So Yan Xiaonan improves to 19-4. Probably getting a title shot against Zhang Weili. If not, there really isn't anything else. It's title shot or waits around and eventually fights an up-and-comer. So good win, Yan. Gets it done. And honestly, final 2 fights of the night, I mean, it just went to both our Yans. Clearly, it was the Yan night as Petr Yan beats Devson Figueiredo 50-45 on all judges' scorecards, getting it done. Number 3 ranked Petr Yan beats number 5 ranked Devson Figueiredo. I was sound asleep by the time this fight was going on. I mean, holy cow. Petr Yan, great win, improves to 18-5, 2-fight winning streak now, 2-0 in 2024. Just outclassed him. 121 significant strikes to 53, 190 total strikes to 53, 1-4 on takedowns, 3 minutes 21 seconds. Almost landed a knockdown. Both men almost landed knockdowns at some point, but neither were actually credited as one. Devson Figueiredo landed 2 of 8 takedown attempts, 3 minutes of control time. Round 1, Petr Yan, 6 significant strikes to 1, 42 total strikes to 1. Figueiredo only landing 1 total strike. Petr Yan had him in control. Round 2, outstruck him 32-10, looking good, including a nasty takedown, trip takedown. I don't even know, it has an official name for it. I can't think it off the top of my head. Basically puts his back leg behind Figueiredo, puts his arm up high, trips him over his own leg, and down he went. Yan looking good into round 3. 21 significant strikes at 13, was taken down once, immediately got back up, held him against the cage, outstruck him. Round 4 comes around. Petr Yan, 25 significant strikes to 14, looking even better. And round 5, Petr Yan, even better. 37 significant strikes to 15, just dominated Devson Figueiredo across 5 rounds. And this answered the old question, what would happen if these two fought back in 2020, 2021? You know, Petr Yan, what about Class Figueiredo? Great work for Yan. Figueiredo, tough loss, but I mean, it's the Petr Yan. We'll let this one slide for you. Yan will be number 3. Figueiredo will remain number 5. I don't know who to matchmake these guys with. Petr Yan, Merab wants to fight him now. He could always fight Sean O'Malley. I like that fight too. I think Sean O'Malley should fight Corey Sandhagen. I think Umar should fight, what's-his-face, Merab Dvalishvili. And I think Petr Yan should get the next title shot, personally. As for Figueiredo, there's Henry Cejudo. I think that'd be a good fight. Can even have him fight Song Yadong. There's going to be a lot of options out there. But decent fight card in Macau, China. My stomach's hurting. I'm feeling sick. I'm feeling ill. So probably going to wrap this one up right here. Big stuff to come in December, but we have no UFC fights coming up this upcoming weekend. But I believe we do have guests coming on the podcast tomorrow, if I'm still up for it. Exciting stuff to come in the future. Go Vikings. Go Jesus. Guys, as always, you already know the spiel. I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.